I remember I wanted to watch the trailer for Batman and Robin because there was no way that movie was going to disappoint me. And to download it, I had to start it, and then it took overnight, and then the next morning, oh buddy, here comes 2 minutes of sweet, sweet Batman action I could watch the next day. After, and then of course my dad went ballistic. Like you left our internet running all night. Like yeah, that's how the only way I could get the trailer. You know, the phone would do the. I'm an old man reminiscing about his youth on the internet.
That's so fun. So did it disappoint or was it awesome for you?
The trailer was looked like it might be a good movie, and then it was. You know what? I have watched that movie more times now than I have watched genuinely good movies. So who's to say?
That's a good movie then. If you want to watch it one more time, even just one more time, it's good.
Well, I'm the ideal audience for anything superhero because I'll put up with a whole lot if you just give me a taste of that what I came for. I'll put up with 20 minutes of terrible dialogue and unbelievable plot, but then Batman punches Mr. Freeze, and that's what I want. So I'm good.
So do you feel like books are the same, where you can finish a book even if you're not fully invested in everything about it? If you can get like that taste of what you like, would you feel like you're committed to books the same way you could be committed to a movie?
Yes and no. I am very patient with books. Back when I wrote reviews at the site, my policy was I left the negative criticism I left that out of the review. I am a little bit more forgiving because I understand that writing a story is hard, but it is harder for me to shut off that part of my brain that's always trying to learn as I'm writing that, hey, how could this have been better? Where would this maybe have been improved? Whereas with a movie, if I'm watching Godzilla versus Kong, I will be on my phone reading Twitter, reading part of a book. But then when they start fighting, let's put that aside. Oh, the people are done talking. Let's just watch the punchy, smashy bits, and it's a little bit more difficult to do that with the book.
That's so funny. So you read books while you watch movies?
Yeah. Yeah, if they're not worth really paying attention to. I've reached a point where I feel like when you get past adolescence and the movies stop being actively marketed towards you, it's easier to block out a lot of them and to feel like I've definitely seen 5 versions of that movie before, and I'm sure this one will be nice as well. But depending on the movie, I don't necessarily need to watch all of it. Like, I wish they would release Transformers movies where they cut out all the people. Just give me the 30 minutes of the robots that you're actually going to put in there. I don't need Marky Mark pretending to be a scientist. Just cut that. Let's just the robot punch. And then we can all go home in 30 minutes and be fine.
Oh, that's so funny. You're like the opposite of me then.
Are you hardcore? You got to sit and watch every last moment? Or?
I'm like zoned in. And even if I don't even like it, for some reason, I just like zone in to a screen. So it's either like I'm watching it or I'm not watching it. I can't do both. I would never be able to read a book and watch a movie at the time because I would just be watching the movie.
Do you rewatch films, or are you one and done?
Do I watch films?
Yeah, do you rewatch them? Back and understand how the story was told or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. I love dissecting movies. So I'll watch them and then I'll watch them again for other reasons if I like them, but I also watch them again just to figure out, okay, where was the inciting incident? Where was the midpoint? And like when I'm watching a movie for the first time, I'll always pick up, okay, I think that was the inciting incident, or I think that was the midpoint, because the midpoint is a part in the story where, for like anyone listening right now who doesn't know what the heck I'm talking about, a midpoint is in the middle of, in the exact 50% of the story, there's like a moment where they change, and it's really interesting because in the first half of the story, a lot of things happen to the character. And then in the second half of the story, the character is actively making the changes. So I really like to pick up on those moments when I'm watching a movie for the first time. So I'll figure out, okay, I think this is a midpoint, and then I'll pause it and see how close I am. And a lot of the times I'm pretty close, because movies are very to the T. Like, you can pretty much count that it will be within like 10 minutes of the exact middle that they've done the midpoint. Books, I do it too, but it's a lot easier to know when I'm holding a book if I'm halfway through or not.
My mom was a retired dental hygienist, and she would complain. And since becoming a dental hygienist, anytime she went someplace, she would be looking at people's teeth, trying to determine what their brushing habits would be, which would get in the way of conversation, because normal non-dental hygienist people, I assume, don't walk around unless somebody's got teeth that are just, you can't help but notice. You don't pay a great deal of attention to this part of the entire package as you're looking at their whole face, but she would just zoom in on it. I feel like that's similar for writers when it comes to stories, and movies are great for plot because you get the whole thing tightly contained in 2 hours. Whereas a book, it may be a couple of days before you're done, and there's going to be a lot of other things going on that, what a beautiful description. How did they do that? How did they create this suspense here? Let me go back and check that. When I kind of checked out of, I was supposed to be watching that midpoint, but I got distracted by this other amazing thing the author's doing.
So I don't know. I think that I look at movies differently. I don't know if I enjoy them less or more, but I do look at them differently. I'm not so oblivious now to when I watch. I'm a lot more like thinking while I'm watching.
It's a little bit difficult for me. The other thing that I like about books as opposed to movies is books. I can imagine whoever the character is, where they're going to have to cast somebody, and it's probably going to be somebody famous. Like, there was a trailer for a Matt Damon movie where he plays like hardworking. I don't know. He's like a salt of the earth, just regular guy. Stillwater, I think, was the trailer I just saw, but it's Matt Damon. It's like, okay, well, I appreciate that you're putting on a hat and like a flannel shirt, and you look like you just worked a hard day, but I know you were palling around with Ben Affleck, and you got out of a limo and you had a wonderful time right up to where you go to shoot the movie. And I almost feel a little bit condescended to when I see Tom Hanks play another everyman role. Like, man, you own a vineyard. Don't tell me about your money problems in the movie. It's a little bit hard for me to distract the performer from the character, whereas with with the book, you're whatever the author wrote, it's happening in my head. So I have my input. That's also why I feel horror is far more effective in the written form than anywhere else, because a filmmaker can't add that childhood trauma that happened to you, but you're going to add it in with whatever the horrific thing is, and it's going to scare you all the more in a unique way because you're participating and freaking yourself out.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't think I've ever thought like that well, maybe I have, where I've been really bothered by the character or the actor, and that's taken away from the story. But I do love that books just don't have that. Everything's in your head. Everything that the character experiences and feels, you feel it a lot more when you're reading versus when you're watching.